Thanks for tuning in to Make This Happen, where we discuss an idea we've been dying to see come alive. Every week, my friend Alexander Gonzalez and myself, J.E., will bring you a product you never knew you needed. And with us today, very special guest. He's been on our other show, We Are Not Game Devs, before. The awesome Nick Blain, a.k.a. Shotgun McPain. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself, Jay?
Ooh, I forgot to switch the audio. Let's switch that now. And I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for asking, man. Do you want to give the listeners here a little blurb in case they don't know who you are?
Yeah, my name is Nicholas Blain. You can find me on the Twitter spheres, of course, on aka at Shotgun McPain. Everywhere, basically. You'll be seeing me edit some videos. I'm doing some freelance editing now since I am formerly of Dual Shockers. And I have been editing for a YouTube channel called youtube.com/mcfixer and youtube.com/moremcfixer, as well as doing some stuff over on my own channel, youtube.com/shotgunmcpain.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I saw you on that video from MC Fixer, I think, when he was shooting the zombies. Pretty funny stuff.
I loved that video. Was such a fun time to edit. As well as I just want to put it out there, if anybody's looking for some freelance video editing, I'm your guy. You go ahead and hit me up. My email is nblainedits, BLAIN. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
I just wanted to do that pitch.
Nick is an awesome dude. We love having him on the show and talk to him. So I'm glad that you had the time to do this Star Wars fanfic with me. I would love this to be a reality, but you know, the chances of me randomly pitching into the verse and Disney picking it up.
That's called manifestation, and it's powerful if you ask people. All right?
Right.
They think that what you're doing right now is actually the first step into getting this made.
This will happen. Make this happen.
Go.
The name of the show.
Oh, bro would be proud.
I've bounced around in my head how I wanted to do this in the most organized way, because obviously as I talk and give ideas, we're probably going to want to jump in, because I think personally this is a great idea. But let's start off. This is how I decided to do it. I wrote up the crawl, a prototype crawl. I'm going to read you the entirety of the crawl. Afterwards, we'll see where this goes. I also have a general idea of a plot, but we'll see where it goes after the crawl. You guys can ask me questions, all that stuff. So, as you know, when you watch Star Wars, the first thing that rises up on the screen a long time ago in a galaxy far away, ... Next, the Star Wars logo comes up, right? The normal Star Wars logo you would expect. And then instead of that, what you're going to hear are some a crescendo of a wind pipe, right? And then as it crescendos, the Star Wars logo gets bigger on the screen. And then you're going to hear a lightning flash. It's going to hit the logo. Lightning goes through it. And then it's going to have a similar Star Wars logo, but a little bit different, where there's lightning kind of like moving around the logo. And then that's when the fanfare starts. But this fanfare is going to be unique. I want it to have more kind of like string instruments with some windpipe instruments, but still feel like Star Wars. I don't know how that's going to happen, but there's talented musicians
John
out
Williams.
there. Someone could think about how doing it. So
I'll figure it out.
this is how it starts. All the names can be changed, whatever. I wrote this up yesterday. I put not a lot. I put some work into it, but I won't be hurt if you guys want to change all of it. So here we go. Star Wars, Arc 3, Part 1, Uprising. The Imperial Monarch is at its zenith. Queen Himiko has successfully brought unity between the warring planet states under the royal forces. Decades of conquest and destruction have begun to quell, and peace seems to be near at hand. Meanwhile, rumors from the inner rings have spread wide, warning the last remaining clans to be wary of the coming uniter. For where there is now peace, something sinister lurks in the shadows. Ooh. There's the fanfare, or the crawl. First things first, Queen Himiko, if and we talked a little bit before the show. I am definitely making this a Japanese-inspired part of the Star Wars universe. This is in a different galaxy. None of these people have ever heard of the Skywalkers. None of these people have heard of anything that happened. They don't even know of the Imperial, the Empire, or like any of that. Like, this is so far away, completely new area.
I'm already.
Can I just go off the cuff? Like, what are we doing for directors here? You want it to be like a Japanese Star Wars, and then can I make it rated R and just put?
I mean, Disney's not going to make it
Quentin
rated R.
Tarantino.
That'd be awesome, but he wants to do Star Trek.
What about? Let me throw out maybe Bong Joon-ho.
Okay.
Parasite, Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
Depending on what this wants to be, I suppose there's other people as well that we could.
That would make me really excited if I heard if you guys like let's test it. If you hear that announcement out there and you're like, who's directing it? Wait, what the fuck? Hold on, what's it gonna be then?
Yeah,
you know, like you'll start questioning. It'll definitely generate intrigue.
And it doesn't have to be super Japanese. It could just be generally Asian inspired, but heavily Japanese. I do want. Let's just go full into like the inner workings of my mind. I do want the Jedi, quote unquote. It could be named whatever in this. They don't have to be called Jedi. And Force, I called Chi-Ka, but that's a really weird name and not very catchy. So it could be something else. Even it could just be an Asianified word like Forsu, but that just sounds too cutesy in anime.
Right.
But whatever it would be called, like there's going to be different words for all this stuff. But I see the Jedi clan kind of being like the Ronin or like the samurai, and then they are all united under different shogunates. But this story is of one person who is banding all the last remaining Ronin or samurai under one big clan to fight the royal forces, is the idea of the show. Let me get into some characters. What my vision of this story is the main character follows the prince. I don't have a name for him yet, but he's the prince of the queen, and the queen is training him in the arts of war. And she sends him out to, I have the name for it, sends him out to the Outer Rings. Very similar name to Outer Rim, but I couldn't think of anything more creative. The Outer Rings.
I appreciate the honesty and transparency.
Yeah.
And I want this planet to look very like, you know those water paintings you see in like Asian restaurants where it's like the mountains with the fog, and like you'd think that there's like a temple out there. That's what this planet's going to look like. And he finds the leader of this clan, and that's the shogun of this planet, right? And they're called planet states here. And eventually this person converts him and trains him, and then he becomes the one to unite all the clans. Another difference in this side of the universe, the queen teaches the prince, don't use your emotions. Don't let your personal influence affect your decisions in battle. You have to be clear-minded and also you don't choose any sides. You just go with your instinct, which to most people might sound a little Jedi teaching way, right? Whereas when he finally meets this guy who is at the planet state, he teaches him, no, you use your emotions and then you focus it in one direction, but don't let it sway your decision. You just use your emotions as a way to channel where naturally things will want to take you, which sounds kind of Sith-like, but a little bit different.
Kind of the balance, the gray.
Yeah, and where I'm going with this. So this whole time, I think the Star Wars viewer, you won't even see this guy until later, the Shogun. You're just going to see the Queen and him kind of interact. And I want to kind of phrase it where the Queen seems like he's teaching him how to be a Jedi. But when the prince comes back and fails his mission, I do want, when he tells her he failed or whatever, and he's kind of understands where the shogun's coming from, I want her to take out her hilt, and it's gonna look like a katana hilt. And then when she fucking ignites that, it's a thin sliver red blade that slowly comes out of the hilt, and it's gonna look like a katana. And then I believe maybe the shogun's there, and then when they start to battle, he reaches out his hands, yellow lightning flies through his fingers. Ooh. And will like stop her from the attack. So the main idea where it's the twist is the Jedi in this side of the galaxy use their emotions and are able to shoot lightning kind of like the Sith, but use it in a different way. Whereas the whatever the bad guys are going to be called in this do not.
I got you.
What do you think here? Is this too crazy?
I don't think it's too crazy. It just sounds like it's in like a different side of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Where you know, it just like where the good guys happen to use the dark side of the Force, which I guess they just call the dark side because evil people use it. But right. You can explain away everything like that, where it's like, where you can say because you can control it, you can exist in chaos, which is fine because the world's ever changing, which is just what the Force is. So you can explain it like that, and you can say like instead of mind tricks or choking or anything like that, you can just say they can just manipulate life force better.
Yeah. Kind of like
use it in non-evil ways.
Kind of like in a very much like the lightning in The Last Airbender, where it's kind of more of a, you know, like it's a part of you and then you release it as an emotion, you know, like going forth from that.
And obviously you could use it like Azula, or you could use it like Iroh.
100%.
Yeah. Sorry.
Continue. My thing is that, like, is there an omnipotent presence? Like, is there an overall being that started this sect? Like, how did this sect of the Force get started, I guess?
Right. I think, so in the crawl, I put this as Arc 3. And so my theory is before the Great Uniter, Queen Himiku, she is the Palpatine in the situation. It's not a very, it's pretty clear that was the connection I was making. So she is actually kind of like, for a lack of a word, the Sith Lord in this situation. And the idea is she's called Queen, but who gave her the title of Queen? Why is she given the right to conquer the rest of this galaxy, right?
Yeah.
And so she's just kind of put herself in that place. And so all these other clans independently worked. And I think, like in Star Wars, there are other races that are Force sensitive. I think there are planet states that are Force sensitive, and they have their own ninja or samurai clans that use the Force in their own way, and these are the Jedi, quote unquote, in this part of the galaxy. But by the time the Queen took over in Arc 2 or Arc 3, like real history, the Shogun have been disbanded. Ronin are scattered about. Most of them become drunks. Most of them are killed, and most of them become like mercenaries or bounty hunters or outlaws or whatever. And it's the same idea where she's getting rid of all the Jedi sects. Sects, quote unquote, while also conquering their planets. And so that is the main evil force at work here, is she's going around and forcing them all under her own rule. But just because maybe she has better technology or something over these people, and they're just, because all these planet states kind of were warring with each other over like small arguments, and like maybe like there's some like a Mandalorian kind of planet where they argued against, like, just they were like the militaristic one that wanted to expand to other planets, but other planets fought back, just like other interplanet conflicts and stuff. They were all kind of focused on their own thing, whilst this one uniter focused on just taking everyone out when the opportune moment arises during these conflicts, or making shady deals and going back on their word and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely like the implication of one of the most explored, not explored, the least explored, but the most loved parts of Star Wars is Knights of the Old Republic and that era, especially, I mean, amongst video game fans. But I think that it kind of brings forth another idea of, you know, how did the Force? It's like we don't know the entry point to the universe that is Star Wars. So I like the idea that there could be like this different set of people who live a different way and interpret the Force a different way, to be able to have the do's and don'ts be totally separate from what we already know about Star Wars, and kind of channel I think that's what's so exciting about these different eras that we get. Like that, I mean, we just got the High Republic era, and it's tackling these lesser known eras of Star Wars, and these different ideals that we know from what we already know from like the movies and the books and all that. So I think that's
speaking of the High Republic, their Jedi thinking is also very different from what we know it today. It's more of like a basic understanding of the Force, where they describe it. I mean, obviously it's a book, so they describe it more wordly, more poetically, where I never thought about the Force as a great sea where you just feel different things throughout the sea, or some people hear it as music. Like, that's not really expressed in the newer Star Warses, because they understand the Force a little bit better in those. And so, yeah, like the Force can be understood in multiple different ways, whereas in High Republic, there is that one character that experiments with the Force, and he's kind of like not liked by the Jedi Council because he does his own thing, right? But that's what the Force is telling him to do, and he believes that is what he's supposed to be doing, you know, as the Force tells Force users who are sensitive with the Force.
So, it's like, we can just explain this away by saying, like, it's about balance, right? So whenever like something else happens like that, where they took the Force in a different direction, balance just propped up. And then another question I have is, if they're using like what we traditionally call dark side powers, isn't there dark side healing that can be done, which can be interpreted as like good healing, where then all of a sudden that side will be able to heal their own troops and stuff like that, and be able to organize and fight differently?
Yeah. And I mean, you said it at the beginning of the show, Alex, but like, we only know the dark side of the Force as the dark side because that's what they called it in Star Wars, and the dark side and the Sith used that side of the Force. Like, maybe in this side of the galaxy, the dark side of the Force is the light side of the Force because they use it in a different way, and so they interpret it a different way, whereas the dark side in this side uses it in a negative way. So instead of being able to do the Jedi mind trick, they do like total brainwashing, maybe like 13 Sentinels, like complete mind wipes and putting a new person out. Like, that could be like the new way of the Jedi mind trick. You know what I mean? Where they take it to the next level, where that's a light side of the Force trick.
Yeah.
But you could take that further.
Change different, yeah, depending on nuances. And what I'm thinking is, is this gonna be a show?
I would like this to be a 3-part movie trilogy.
Okay, so
is my plan.
For that kind of thing, I would like it if they reveal the Force differently. So like, as it's playing and building up, like they're using the Force, but it doesn't seem like to a traditional Star Wars audience member that it's explicitly the Force, because people know, you know, pull, push, choke, lightning, but they're using it in a different way, so that eventually once it comes to, they speak of it different, where you're like, oh no, this is the Force. Okay, no, I get it now.
In my head, in this movie, the only time you see the Force, not the only time, but the first time you see the Force is at the very end, where he shoots lightning through his hands. That's the only time in this movie you see. Like, all the earlier stuff, it's all just political, wartime, in space type movie. Yeah, I don't think the Force. You don't want to see
some stuff where like they focus lightning into a lightsaber or something?
No, I don't even think
like that.
The lightsaber you don't even see to the end either. I don't think you see the lightsabers in this movie until you see the red. Like, in your mind, you think Queen Himiko is going to be the Jedi until she takes out the red katana saber, and at that point is the first time you see the saber. because I also want it to look different. It's going to look like a katana, kind of like the Darksaber, but thinner.
So
not so
this is
wide.
gonna be like Gundam then, where there's gonna be a whole lot of more political intrigue.
Yes. But I mean, think about the first movie. You don't see the Force used.
The Force really used until they get to Mos Eisley. Because they get the
with the Jedi
mind
mind
trick.
Right. Like and then the lightsaber you don't really see. You just see Luke go for like 2 swings here and there, but you don't really see it.
Well, and I like that. I mean, we had kind of had this talk a little bit earlier, but I like the idea of tackling these traditional things that we know about Star Wars. Like, we've seen lightsabers, we've seen all this, but it's interesting to do it in such a way where, hey, this is like Rogue One is a great example of it, where like that is a war movie that just happens to be Star Wars. Like, I think that's something that I've really kind of hoped that Star Wars would go to, is just like, let's just make Star Wars the platform. Let's make Star Wars the platform for a story that these directors would want to tell. Writers and directors would want to tell, and I think that this is something that's desperately needed, where it's like, oh, we know these certain things about Star Wars, but what if we shake it up? What if we don't really tell what's going on until the end? I think, honestly, so again, controversial as they may be, the directors of Game of Thrones might be able to attack that political intrigue, or
I was thinking that though. That was right on my mind as well.
In conjunction, because I mean we all know how Game of Thrones ended, but in conjunction with political director himself, Andy Serkis, who very much gets the political intrigue across, but then Benioff and Weiss can kind of control, like the actiony parts, the more war part of it, necessarily. Maybe that could be something that would be thrown up. I'm still thinking about directors. I'm like, that sounds really good, but I know I'm missing something. I'm missing
need
something.
Like something to envision, like a style to envision of it. Yeah, I see what you mean.
100%. One, I will say, what races are all these people in terms of like the Star Wars universe? Do we have, like a Chiss? Do we have a, Sebulba looking character? I forget their species,
right.
But
I mean, I think one idea I did have was, I think this was an idea I had for the main character, because we've had enough human Star Wars main characters, I think. This is just an idea I had where there's the Mon Calamari, right?
Yep,
what if instead we have a more like a Splatoon Squid Kid type character, where they're part octopus, and they have, instead of having the Twi'lek Lekus, they have more of like a squid tentacle with like the little suctions, and that could be like kind of more like hair. And maybe in this it could be like more like Medusa hair, where it looks more like hair. But if you look closely, it's not hair; they're tentacles. You know what I mean? Kind of like
I like that,
like a Malboro from Final Fantasy. I don't know what.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that was just an idea I had. Like, have like variations of aliens. Obviously, there is gonna probably be a Yoda-like alien or a Yoda alien in here as well. I mean, I think there has to be, and they're probably like another shogunate somewhere else where they're more of
with
like
a sick beard.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Sick beard.
That'd be really cool. And they're like, maybe the Yoda planet state, they're like monks, where they just, all they do is just meditate on the Force, and they're just like, that's all they do. And they like accept people from all races, and maybe in one of the movies you go there to like visit, and then you bring the war there, and not Yoda, but this character shows off.
The Yoda species.
Yeah.
So you just fuck with the airbenders, basically.
Exactly.
Right.
Kill them off.
I think we sprinkle, if we're putting Yoda species in it all, we sprinkle it. I think it's like something that Star Wars does really interestingly and well, is just like, hey, like if this is mysterious species, I personally am like, let's not, because then it's like no ties to what we already know. At the same time, I think that we should have something that we already know,
like one thing that's familiar. And I think the Yoda species is a good pull, because we don't know anything. You know what I mean? And so just having one in Mandalorian, one in the Star Wars, and one randomly way over here.
Yes.
And that just is like, how did this guy get how is this happening? You know what I mean? I think that might be the only alien that is familiar to people, and then everyone else is a different variation. Where, like, let's say evolution went a little bit differently with some of the aliens.
Interesting.
So
So
I
that
like
would just be
that.
the one call back to the original universe to give like the original fans like, oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of like it could be like Pokemon, the Alolan region, where the
Oh,
Pokemon
yeah.
that are in different regions, kind of grow and change differently according to the climate or the circumstance of where they're at. So we could see like a Moncala, or we could see a Gungan, but they're much different than what we know
Yeah.
a Gungan to be.
Maybe in this one, the Gungans aren't underwater species; they're flying species. Maybe they're
Yeah.
like part bird instead of part fish. Some like different variations like that. That's exactly kind of what I was
Right.
calling the Lohan versions or whatever. And this Yoda monk character with the sick beard, voiced by Morgan Freeman.
Hello there, everybody. I
it
am
seems
here to
that
teach you.
You have brought war to the planet that wanted anything but.
And I feel like he would probably only be, this Yoda part would only be in like the second movie. It wouldn't even be in the first. You won't see anything familiar in the first one. You would have noticed I did not mention a king, but there is a prince. The king, you don't find this out until the third movie or maybe the second movie, is actually the you probably find out in the second movie, because when he walks in with the prince, the shogunate, and then the queen, the shogunate was actually the king who is thought to be dead, but really he faked his death to escape to a far distant planet where he thought the queen couldn't find him, because he didn't like her side of the force and decided to go somewhere else and learn in a different way. So that's going to be like obviously the Darth Vader Luke moment is where you find out. And it's kind of like Luke and Obi-Wan, where this time Obi-Wan is actually his dad. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or is he like also bringing rebels too back, or is it just him? Like, does he have a small army, like an insurrection kind of thing?
I think he uses the first Planet States forces as the start of the rebels, but instead of a rebel army trying to fight back, I think it's him trying to reunite all the clans and then fight back in the third movie. Like, I think it's going to be him trying to unite all the broken Ronin that are just wandering after the Queen broke up their planets, to band them all together to fight back, and then we'll have like a giant Attack of the Clones style fight where all of the all of the Ronin slash samurai slash Jedi, whatever you want to call them, fight against the royal forces and eventually storm the capital and do all that stuff.
Okay. I do want to say at this point, Dave Filoni has overseen all of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have overseen the entirety of Star Wars, so much so that we're able to explore other parts of Star Wars because if we're expanding on something that's totally different, I want them at the helm.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think they would definitely be involved in some way. Obviously, George Lucas would be there as well. But yeah, most definitely. They would have, like, not just for continuity. What's the word?
Continuity.
Continuity?
Not just for that sake, but also to have the same feel, to make it still feel like Star Wars. It's very different, but it still has to be that same feeling. And I think that's partially why I didn't want to veer too much where the story is completely different. I want all these parallels where there is a Palpatine, there is a Darth Vader son moment, there is a trainer, there is all this stuff, but twist it in a different way. And I think, Clone Wars, the cartoon, and Rebels also do that a lot. I mean, the amount of times we have to hear, it's a trap. Can we just drop it already? Like, it's been years of just hearing, it's a trap.
I almost think we go further and kind of distance a little bit more from the traditional Star Wars that we already know. Like, kind of maybe go and the king is, kind of goes away because he is so disenfranchised with what is happening currently, like you said. And then also it kind of hides himself away, kind of like Luke does in Act 2, not Return of the Jedi, The Last Jedi, but kind of locks himself in a way that almost like charges his potential in the Force, as it were, in the universe, so that he kind of understands the Force in a way that nobody else can, but also like has his own way about it.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that. Maybe make him kind of like just like that aloof kind of character where he doesn't, even if he's the king, obviously, but he doesn't let his responsibilities take hold of him. He's like, no, the Force wants me to go over here. I have to listen to the Force. And so maybe the queen just pretended that he died to like appease the people, but really she's like, no, he just fucking left. Like he's just gone.
Like he wasn't interested in the politics.
Yeah.
He was interested in more of like the anointing and maybe because it goes almost religious aspects of the Force, like following it through to that nth degree, while the queen is more hungry about the politics side and amassing power.
Yeah. Maybe he left the quote unquote Force as it is in the universe, but by doing that it's unlocked a new kind of idealism of what the Force is. Like the Force is not a active thing. Maybe to him the Force is not an active thing that that you use. The Force is something that's in the mind, it's in the body, it's in the spirit. Like it's a part of you, and it can kind of bring you knowledge, it can bring you eternal peace, going along with the more Eastern ideas of that, like the Buddhism, that sort of idealism of like finding that inner peace, but also using it to not outsmart but out spiritualize somebody. You know,
just be able to be mentally fortified enough where they can't like reach you or get to your level of inner peace.
Yep.
I know we're going a little long. This is a little bit longer of an episode, but we're having fun. So I do want to talk a little bit about the Jedi in particular. I do want also the lightsaber fighting, I do want to talk about as well. Where I do want this to be very samurai-esque, where the battles are very much one-on-one, like the wars are fought honorably, and then like maybe there will be a big battle. Like there's going to be a lot of big fights that are determined by one-on-one fights, and it doesn't have to be lightsabers versus lightsaber. It could be someone with a pike or someone with like, I don't know, an axe or something. Like it could be different weapons.
Like a mace
exactly.
And we've seen that in Star Wars before, where like things have been not necessarily just lightsabers. We've seen whips. We've seen the double-sided. We've seen the Inquisitors have the kind of spinning helicopter blades. We've seen a decent amount of differences. So I think that there can be open up, especially with this being an entirely different side of the galaxy that we haven't seen before. It could open it up to be something more akin to what would be in that area.
Right. Another idea I had, I don't know why this came to me, I think it's just because I forgot this idea, is when Queen Himiko actually does reveal her lightsaber, how it does happen is she brings her hilt up above her head and then slowly brings it down as the blade comes down into like a kendo stance,
Yeah. Maybe it comes out like white because it's like it's reeling from the sheath, and then when she goes behind, it's still white, but then when she comes back down into her kendo stance, it's red.
That'd be cool.
Like it's still like basically lighting up as she goes up, and then
like it's more like an energy like source coming out of the sheath until you activate it, and then that's when it fully kind of go like maybe it's not going to be like the normal lightsaber where it slowly comes out. It's more of like a flowy kind of snapping to it.
And then when you imbue the Force into it, that's when it like you like that is your Force energy makes these stronger than maybe necessarily the traditional lightsabers that we know.
Yeah, maybe it's just sharper, like they're supposed to be katanas, and it's because the material, maybe this would be insane because I mean, this could be a different universe, but maybe the entire blade is actually kyber crystals. Like the whole blade is one kyber crystal that you have to like smith into this blade. I know this is a lot of kyber crystal we're talking about. This is a big thing. Maybe it could even just be a small miniature version, and then that kind of like enlarges or whatever. But that could be an idea. I don't know if that's a good idea because kyber crystals are supposed to be pretty rare. But maybe in this side of the galaxy,
maybe it's not even. I mean, maybe it's not even kyber.
Right.
Maybe it's because with it being the entirely different side of the universe, it could be that they don't the way they use the Force and the way they found out about lightsabers is that imbuing the Force gives it that's the lightsaber. Like they have a Force, they're Force sensitive in such a way where it's like they're able to like make the Force go through the blade and become a lightsaber.
Like physical or not physically, but yeah, I see what you mean. Like, they make the saber. It's not from a source. It's from
like it almost reacts. Like maybe it's an ore that reacts to the Force, so it changes the very properties of it.
Right. Maybe that's like where like the prince like maybe doesn't feel as confident in himself and doesn't feel confidence in the entirety of the situation, and then cannot use not only is locked away from the Force and his lightsaber. Yeah. Because he's, questioning his beliefs, he's questioning where he's coming from. Yeah,
like the lesson, quote unquote, that a lot of this would be about would be like probably like balance and inner self peace, or probably the themes that will probably focus around the most, which is very apt for the what it's based off of. And so, yeah, it could definitely be he doesn't get to use a lightsaber until maybe there is like that time skip moment you see in the original trilogy where he did learn finally to meditate. Maybe that's where he meets Yoda, and that he has to train like Batman style, like train and learn how to become peace with, or learn how to get peace within yourself, but in his own unique way, because obviously that's what Star Wars is about. Fantastic. I think we're good here. What do y'all think?
It'd be something I'd want to see, but it would be one of those things where when you ask somebody like, "Oh, how's the new Star Wars movie?" Don't take the thing like it's Star Wars, but don't like sit there and think it's Star Wars. Yeah, like you'd have to like tell them.
This is much more of an inspiration of other things than it is Star Wars. Like again, it goes in line with like what I've kind of wanted from Star Wars is like, man, let's make a like let's run the gamut. Let's make a Seth Rogen film in Star Wars. Let's make a samurai film in Star Wars. Let's make like this Max Rebo biopic in Star Wars. Let's make pod racing. Let's have a Days of Thunder, for the love of God. Let's have a Days of Thunder style pod racing movie,
like just a competitive sports movie
I would want nothing more.
Yeah, I feel the same way, that it would be like the start of a new generation of movies where you're like, oh, okay, like of course this can all happen on Disney Plus. This makes sense,
right? Yeah.
Like
and we've already seen like them try to tap into that Eastern influence where we have Visions coming out here soon, where it's anime directors' take on Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see that.
So that could be really interesting. Also, I have a little pitch real quick, just a mini pitch within the pitch, and then I'll leave you just with it to think about. All right, Initial D pod racing.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah. Let's get it.
I would want Speed Racer pod racing with like crazy courses and like colors.
I want some stoic racers looking out over hills, though. That's what I want.
Right.
All right. Well, I guess Disney?
Yes.
Yeah, Disney. Make this happen. Thanks for listening. If you have any suggestions or products you'd like to see talked about, feel free to write in at @poundgames@gmail.com. We have a Patreon. If you'd like to join the @pound family, come find us at patreon.com/wearenotgamedevs. Patrons receive episodes 2 days early, meaning Make This Happen gets to your ears that much sooner. If you enjoyed our show, take a second to give us a review. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Store, and more. And Nick, one more time, thank you so much for joining us. If you just want to give one last blurb about yourself, where they could find you, hit you up, maybe something you want people to check out.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. This is always fun to hop on this and kind of get the creative juices flowing. You can find me everywhere at Shaka McPain. Most recently, I did a video on youtube.com/mcfixer about Call of Duty Zombies Outbreak, and it is so funny. I have put some of the most funny bits in there. I've also helped him with TikTok a bit. You can go follow TikTok. I think it's TikTok.com/mcfixer. Just follow MC Fixer on TikTok, and you might find some of my content there. As well as if you're looking for a freelance editor, you can email me at nblainedits@gmail.com. That's nblain, BLAIN.
Fantastic. Well, catch you guys next Sunday with Alex's idea.
Dog collars. I'm totally getting out of the universe. Sorry about that.
Dog collars. What are the dogs in this universe?
Ooh.
Going to the dog universe.
What if there
One of my
is
favorite
a dog
universes.
pet companion in this universe? Instead of droids, they're all pets.
Ooh. I like the potential for merchandise as well.
Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go.
That's what the Star Wars was missing. Merchandise.
Oh yeah, then you can sell costumes for your pets. The millennials will love it.
That'd be
We
awesome.
got it.
The Millennials Falcon.